is. And grown-ups, get ready for the Gran Turismo experience that's headed your way called Drive-by-Wire. This revolutionary system replaces steering wheels with joysticks that control acceleration, steering, brakes, signaling, and even your horn. Drive-by-Wire's lighter and safer than traditional steering columns with less bulk and more control for making hairpin turns or sudden stops. So fasten your seatbelt. It's time to take a ride through Penny Heaven. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. You've heard of Sunday suits, lawsuits, and birthday suits. But here's news of a new suit that's not about new at all. I'll give you the third degree on third age suits when we come back. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. E15 as a choice at the pump benefits engines of today's EPA E15 approved vehicles. The first gas station offering an E15 alternative to drivers of light-duty vehicles, model year 2001 and newer, opened its E15 pumps to consumers in Lawrence, Kansas in July 2012. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. A new suit that's part motor age, part space age, is helping Ford's ergonomics engineers to develop vehicles tailored for older drivers. A cross between Bee-Catcher's gear and astronaut's wear, third age suits add bulk to the body and restrict movement, simulating the physical changes of aging. By understanding the challenges of older drivers, engineers can design crash avoidance, crash worthiness, and post-crash assistance features into the new generation of vehicles, making what's old new again. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Lost in a dream, you feel the Pacific breeze. Hearing awards presented, you think you're in Hollywood. Can't be. There are no limos. Move over, Freud, because when we come back, I'll interpret your dream. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, so why not at the pump? Opponents claim that drivers will be confused with choices like E15 and E85. This objection is confusing, as studies show that Americans do want a choice. Soon, blender pumps will empower consumers to tailor fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their needs. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Your dreams of an award ceremony, all right, but these winners don't stroll down the red carpet, they roll down. Not a single limo on the list. LA-based Auto Pacific just issued its vehicle satisfaction scores compiled from new car owners' ratings. The envelopes, please. For Compact Car of the Year, VW's new Beetle. Premium midsize, Nissan Altima. Large pickup, Chevrolet Silverado HD. And luxury SUV, Cadillac Escalade. See how your new car star ranks at autopacific.com. Reporting from the center of the automotive universe, this is Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with another Car Clinic Minute. Oxymorons. You know, the things that just don't seem to go together, like jumbo shrimp or deafening silence. How about new car and service manager? You'll be surprised. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. According to economic research firm Cardno Intrix, the ethanol industry added $42.4 billion to the U.S.'s gross domestic product, and the production of 13.9 billion gallons of ethanol supported 90,200 direct jobs and over 311,000 indirect jobs across this country. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. If thinking of the service manager while inking your new car deal seems like an oxymoron, think again. Though today's cars are certainly more roadworthy than their predecessors, they can still break. In fact, the experts at the LA Auto Show report that automotive repair is a $200 billion business, and 1 of every 3 cars serviced returns for additional work. So ask your new car salesperson for an introduction to the service manager. It's a small investment with a big payoff at repair time and for maintenance checks. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1 minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today. We're going to open the phones, and I started to say Tina. Gosh, you're going to shoot me. Miss Jan will, it's kind of a, an inside joke there, but Miss Jan will take your calls at the 800-264-5454 or 888 Car Clinic, whichever one you'd like to use. The 888's a little easier for you to remember. It's 227-2546. Gas prices, when I come back from this break, I'll share with you the gas prices of the week. Very interesting to see that gas prices inching its way back up. So we report these prices every week to you so that you'll be apprised of the situation, not just in the United States, but in the world, in the global world, because that really has a lot to do with oil prices. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Be sure to sign up to be an O Rewards member today, folks, and earn 1 point for every dollar spent. You receive rewards twice as fast and on the go when you provide your email address, so be sure and do that. O Rewards members get $5 back for every $150 spent. It's fast, easy, and free, and only at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. See your local store for details or go to orewards.com. Stay tuned. I'll be back and take your calls. And Likis, you'll love it.
O'Reilly. If your vehicle has a bumpy ride, it might be time for new shocks or struts. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, buy 4 Monroe shocks and struts for the price of 3 after mail-in rebate. Improve your vehicle's steering, stopping, and stability with Monroe shocks and struts at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The weather's going to turn soon, and you're probably going to get your home heating system ready for winter. What about your car's heating system? Specifically, the thermostat. Consider a superstat from Stant. Your vehicle's thermostat is critical for precise engine temperature control. It leads to better gas mileage, optimum performance, and lower emissions. Stant's superstat is a professional's choice. It's a premium-grade thermostat that performs better and lasts longer. Don't get left out in the cold. Learn more at Stant.com. That's Stant.com. Folks, we're testing an Intune i2 performance programmer from Diablo Sport, and we'll share feedback and results over the next few months. First is ease of installation. Directions were clear and the setup was easy. The Intune i2 is preloaded with dyno and street-tested performance programs developed specifically for your car or truck, ensuring optimal power and drivability gains. From there, you can then customize a tune tailored to your own performance needs. What a great way to boost power without even popping the hood. Diablo Sport Intune i2 has a fantastic look and now features the latest generation ARM processor for a higher resolution screen and an exceptionally responsive touchpad. You can update your i2 software on virtually any computer, Windows, Mac, Linux, and update times are fast. Even the large updates take no more than 5 minutes. I'll report more to you about the Intune i2 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the i2 for yourself at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P-Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. Right along with me this hour, and we'll take your calls, and we'll talk cars or oil or fuel or used cars or new cars. There's nothing like, speaking of new cars, there's nothing like sitting in a showroom floor and just exploring, or a car show. If you've been to one of the larger car shows like Cobo Hall or the Paris Auto Show. I have to say I've never been to the Paris Auto Show, but it's on my bucket list to go if I could get out of here for a couple of weeks. But, you know, this Saturday, I was just thinking about this before we opened the bell here. Every Saturday is a grounding day for me because I know that from 10 till noon Eastern Time, I'm going to be right here in front of the camera and right here behind the microphone to take your calls and to talk cars. And that's exciting. It's still exciting after 25 years because every week I learn that I didn't know quite as much as I thought I did. And I can tell you the way cars have evolved into electronic transportation devices, which is the best way to put it. And I was thinking before we started the program this morning, what if we just went to one big in-the-cloud presence of all cars, this is where we're going now, folks, but think about it. You've got all these cars on the road, you know, millions of cars, and they're all in the cloud, and the cloud knows where each and every car is and can and also avoid a crash because it can tell using algorithms and math and GPS and mapping can tell that if you have 1 and 1, you're going to have 2, but you can't have 2 at the same place at the same time without a crash. And it's really exciting. And you say, well, Bobby, that's not going to happen for a long time, and you're probably right. It's not going to happen for a long time, but I can tell you this, with regard to crash avoidance and V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle recognition, we're already seeing that. And you see Mercedes advertise and Nissan advertise with automatic stopping. That's your V2V, that's your crash avoidance. So we're already tippy-toeing into that arena, whether or not you realize it or not. And I had one of our customers that I reached out to that I hadn't seen in a while, and I said, it's time to get your car serviced. He said, Bobby, I traded the car, and I bought a new Honda. And I said, well, great, good for you. And I said, we can service that new Honda for you. He said, and indeed you will. I said, well, what do you like about the new car? Because I love cars, and I wanted to hear. He said, it makes me a better driver. Now, this is a man, folks, and he's admitting that he wasn't a great driver, and at least that's the way it came across to me. And I said, well, how so? He said, well, it has the lane warning when you're out of the lane. It has the park assist. It has bells and whistles that go off when you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And by golly, I'll tell you, I got thinking about that. And here's a gentleman that, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That is certainly not the case at all, because he actually enjoyed the fact that he felt safer with himself as the driver because he had a car that had the crash avoidance and so to speak, as we have today. So when you're looking for a car, you want to make sure that you get the safety part of the automobile, and thanks to the government mandates, and you usually hear that from a car guy or from the industry, thanks to the government mandate, but that's where airbags came from, that's where seat belts came from. So and in fact, it was government subsidy that enabled the first airmail letter, because there were no airmail letters, and at 6 cents a pop, who's going to pay for an airplane and gas to fly a letter from the East Coast to the West Coast? And now we have FedEx, we have UPS, we have, well, you know what we have with regard to real delivery. And speaking of real delivery, then I'm going to go to Jim and hear what he brings to the table. And again, Jan will take your calls at 888-227-2546. Speaking of real delivery, I am a supporter of, I guess you might say that, but I'm a customer, more importantly, of Amazon. I love to buy on Amazon. And I'll make excuses to buy on Amazon, even if it's a new cord for my charging cord for my iPhone. I do that because I'm a Prime member, which is a great, for $100 a year. Everything is shipped free. Well, not everything. There are some items that do not come under the Prime. But I will tell you, it's really exciting just to look online, and if you find something, you get the part number, you go to Amazon. And to that end, we had another lady customer that bought a used car. It did not have an owner's manual, and she wanted an owner's manual. So I said, well, let me see what I can find out. Well, I had no idea. So I just took a gamble, went to Amazon and put in owner's manual, Nissan, whatever year it was, maybe a 2010 or whatever. There were 30 different options, and they were $5, $8, $10, and $12. And each one of these units online, and I did buy the one that was more expensive because it came with the original packet, just like you would buy a new car. And I handed that book to her. It took us about, I guess, 2 weeks before we got it in, and then she came in to pick it up. And so 2 weeks went by, and in that length of time, I had gone through it just to make sure that it was complete and not torn or had been wet or what have you. And so I was just, again, amazed, and she was so happy that she had this used car and a brand new owner's manual to go with it. And that's a big deal. I'll take your calls at 888, or Jan will take your calls, Miss Jan, at 888-227-2546. In the meantime, we're going to go to Detroit and talk with Jim. And then as we go through this first hour of today's broadcast, I'll share with you the gas prices, and you're going to be surprised about this. But first, Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Always great to have you in the house, man.
Always great to be here, Bobby, and talk about cars. Let's start off by talking about the new aluminum Ford Super Duty truck. I mean, aluminum is coming on. I know we had fun choking about it when the 150s came out, but it looks like it's here to stay and will not go away.
Well, I agree with you, and to that end, if you've seen GM's television commercial where they throw the toolbox that's very pointed, and and I don't know how many times they had to push that toolbox off the side of the truck to make it tear a hole in the bed. But in reality, that's just kind of a no-brainer. And steel is still stronger than aluminum. Well, it depends. And another thing too, the Ford aluminum body is an aluminum body, but the frame is steel. And furthermore, there are 12 angle, and at the front of that vehicle, there's a 12 angle geometrically created barrier for crash avoidance, and it's a 5-star unit. So hats off to Ford. I will say this, Jim, when they bought Jaguar, and hats not off to Ford, they did not do a good job there. They paid several $1 billion for Jaguar, and then they sold it for, they paid like $6 million, and they sold it for 2.4 to Tata Motors. And Tata has done a fantastic job. But I said all that to say that what Ford took away from that experience was, number one, how to lose money. Okay, well, that's a terrible thing to say, but that's a fact. But what they actually took away was how to make aluminum bodies, and they shut down that Ford truck plant, and they did all of their revamping, and they opened it up to build aluminum bodies. And I've never been in that plant, but I understand, whereas most plants you see with the robots and sparks flying and wells and what have you, it's like a hospital room, because there are like 4,000 rivets and glue and those sorts of things. And the car that I drive is an aluminum automobile, and I can tell you that's the way to go. Back to you.
As I understand, all Teslas are aluminum cars, and for them, that's the way to go. However, speaking of the way to go, the new Bolt will be in the showrooms in December, so that's giving Tesla a challenge to beat their number 3 Special S car, and the mileage getting at least 238 miles per gallon. It looks like a big selling feature.
To that end, I agree with you. To that end, I last Sunday I went to a play that a friend of mine wrote and produced. And was really enjoyed that, and sat with a retired admiral and his wife. He drives, he drove a Prius, he traded it, and now he drives a Volt. His wife drives a Leaf. Yes, she drives the Leaf, and he drives the Volt, and his name was Paul. And he explained to me, or shared with me, that his bill for gasoline last year, 2015, for both his automobiles was $80 for the entire year, and that's significant. I mean, when you think about it, and you'd say, well, now wait a minute, he paid more for the cars, and how much did it cost to charge? He has a 240 charger in his garage, so the cost of charging is, in my language, a nit. Because quite candidly, I don't know that you could actually put a price on it. Certainly you can figure it, but in the big scheme of things, he paid $80 out of his pocket for gasoline for the entire year. And Jim, we have a hard break coming up, so can I ask you to stay with us?
You can. I'll be here.
Okay, all right. So, folks, I'll ask you to stay with us as well. And now's a great time to get in at 888-227-2546. Could I say that any slower? I think
not. Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts. And your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with PowerFrame technology inside. Look for PowerFrame on the outside and know there's true strength on the inside.
This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire and the Grabber HTS 60, the perfect synergy of comfort, durability, and performance for light trucks, SUVs, and crossovers. Egyptian hieroglyphics couldn't be any more alien than the strange array of letters and numbers printed on the sides of your tires. Just what does, for example, P185/75 space R14 mean? P stands for passenger vehicle, 185 is tire width in millimeters, 75 is tire's height to width ratio, and R14 says the diameter of the wheel is 14 inches. Tire babble solved. The Grabber HTS 60 features General Tire Stability Tread, offering a flatter footprint, optimized tread pattern stiffness, and an improved tread compound. The result is up to 25% more tread life than the original Grabber HTS. General Tire's innovative Duragen technology provides a robust compound with excellent resistance to cuts and chips. Ultra-high-strength steel belts and a broad, flat contour promote stability, even wear, and responsive handling. Learn more at GeneralTire.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment, folks. Glad you tuned in today. It's a beautiful day along the Gulf Coast of Florida, which is where our studios are located. We're actually located inside, as I sit inside this studio that was designed by me and my team and manufactured by Acoustic Systems in Austin, Texas. That's the same company that actually designed later on and installed the studios for XM satellite radio. And XM took an old brewery and converted it to a studio in D.C. And I've never been there, but I have been to the Sirius radio network in New York. And they bought the top 2 floors of a building. Now this was when it was CD radio, and then it was converted to renamed to Sirius for the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, and that was even before they came online. A little history there. XM actually did not even have any satellites in the sky, and Sirius had 2, and yet XM, because they were a bunch of radio guys, beat Sirius to the punch and actually started a broadcast before before Sirius did. And then later on, and I never thought this would happen, XM and Sirius, of course, joined, and now it's the same company. And I thought that the FCC would never approve that. But I think in the interest of saving one company or making one successful company out of 2 companies in the market share and for other reasons that yet to be determined, I'm not sure that would work. But the bottom line, it's an interesting concept. I know when that first came out, there were many of our stations that literally didn't care for Sirius satellite radio, and now that's just a part of life, as are HD FM radios and AM radios, high definition. So it's all about technology, and it's all about moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, we're going to go back to Jim and hear some more updates with regard to automobiles. Jim, welcome back.
Okay, thank you very much. Stepping up with the Cruise, they're getting a little bit longer body. They're more stylish. And the big news in Cruise in 2018, they're going to be able to get 50 miles per gallon.
Wow. 50 miles per gallon, a gasoline automobile.
Right.
So it's a it must be a small displacement with a turbocharger, Jim, and multi transmission gear, 6 or 8 gears in the transmission. I don't. It'll be interesting to see that.
I know, because it's going to blow away the argument of cost for all other manufacturers to keep up with the government's 54.8. With the balance between cars and trucks, that could be lowered a bit, but I think they're going to do their best to beat it.
I agree, and to that end, the government is on track to revisit that mandate, which is 54.5 by 2022, and 2025. Yes, I think it is. Yes, 2025. And so as we see, all manufacturers, it's like the new Ford F-150 pickup, more power this year. The Raptor's got 450 horsepower out of the same V6, but they'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'll tell you, it's really unbelievable at what the manufacturers are doing with internal combustion engines. What else did you bring for us, sir?
Okay, we're going to talk about trucks at the moment. A new Ram Rebel truck TRX is guaranteed to move at least 100 miles an hour and be the sturdiest truck for long travel, and it's getting rave reviews, and it's proving the point that no matter which way you turn, everything is getting better.
I would agree with that, but and to that end, technology. I mean, look at where iPhones are today, and even computers are today. I recently bought a new laptop for our corporate office, and it comes with 12 megabytes. 12. What is it? Megs? 12 megs. Yeah, of RAM. That's what it was. Yeah, and 1 terabyte. Yeah, 1 terabyte of hard drive space in a laptop. I mean, it's unbelievable that with a quad processor, and for the first time ever in my life, I bought this unit on the Home Shopping Network, and I would never have ever believed that I would do that. But after spending about a week or so trying to determine what was the best buy, I learned that a lot of the laptops are doing away with CD players. But in our case, we need a CD player, and so this unit has a CD player. It has the 12 megs of RAM. It has a terabyte of hard drive and a quad processor, and was less than $600. It was a $1,300 computer on sale for $579. $579. Unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And Jim, it was a 17.3 inch screen as well. So
wow.
So I was wowed away. I couldn't believe it, but I hesitated to buy from the Home Shopping Network until they announced that you had 4 months to make up your mind on whether you want to keep it or not. I guarantee 4 months, no questions asked. And because I'm not the primary user, another one of our officers is, I want to make sure that everybody was satisfied with it. So the final analysis, it's doing everything it's supposed to do. So what else do you have with regard to in the automotive world?
Okay, let's remember that the self-driving cars are working with the government, and it's going to be safer for people on motorcycles. They're not going to be in a blind spot. They're going to be recognized by self-driving technology, and that's going to cause more people to feel comfortable on the road on a motorcycle.
I never thought about that. I mean, I thought about the pedestrians. I thought about the crash, the vehicle avoidance, the crash avoidance, and yet the biggest challenge, as I understand it, with motorcyclists, with riders, is the fact that passenger car people, drivers, don't see them, and so you're definitely right there. That's another. It's what I call a BGO, a blinding glimpse of the obvious that I just never thought about. So thanks for bringing that to my attention and to our listeners' attention. And I'm sure that those who ride motors out there will feel more comfortable as time goes on.
Well, they should, Bobby. And I got to tell you, in the 2 years that I'll be with you this December, I've learned a lot from you, and you're a guy to look up to, and I'm glad that we work together.
I thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words, Jim, and thank you so much for your report. As always, it's great to hear what's going on, and I know that a lot of folks out there that may or may not call in because of the when you get into the technical range, you know, it sometimes people will just listen and be a little bit intimidated by all of the new, or say, well, he doesn't want to talk about repairs of cars. That's not the case at all. But I think it is important that consumers, and we are all consumers, really know what their options are. And to that end, before I let you go, there's one final word. If you were to ask me to make a suggestion for every car owner out there, what would make them a better car owner, a better driver with regard to transportation, I would say to read the owner's manual, and then to take that vehicle out where there's a private area or no other cars around, and to understand what the ABS system can do, to understand what the lane change, and to understand what the car's options and the car's safety features actually can do, because you never know about those things. And as a driver, you have old habits, so you may try to do things in the middle of a potential crash that you shouldn't have to worry about. You just let the car help you, just nail the brakes and steer it in the direction you want to go, and the car will take over for you and help you, as long as you are nailing the brakes and steering in the direction. And the car has yaw sensors, and today's cars are really marvels, and you know, you never think about that until you need it. But I bet you there are a lot of folks out there that during the time that they need it, they feel the pulsing in the pedal, and they let off the brake, or they try to do things that the car really could do for them if the car was just allowed. So learn how to drive, and learn what's in the automobile, and learn how to use it. Jim, thanks so much. It's always great to hear from you.
Same here, Bobby. Take care.
Okay, folks, I mentioned gas prices. I mentioned BGO, blinding glimpse of the obvious. So here we are, we're being, like the frog, we're being warmed slowly in the pan, and here's why. Gas prices a week ago, as compared to gas prices today on the national average, we're looking at $2.27, $2.67 on the West Coast. But here's the point. Of the 10 regions where gas prices are reported on the site that I use, which is a government site, 9 of the 10 regions have had an increase in price over this time last week. And more importantly, of the 10 regions, 4 of the 10 are up over same price this time last year. What does that mean? It means that you got a little uptick here, a little uptick there, a little uptick here, and the next thing you know, week to week, it doesn't really register. But then if you look at it for year to date, or year to year rather, year over year, then it does register. And here we are in those regions. I'll just briefly, the lower Atlantic is higher in gas prices than it was this time last week and last year. Central Atlantic, New England, and the East Coast. So what's going on there? Well, the gasoline prices are going up. So I don't know what drives gas prices. I know that 70% of the gas price is driven by the price of crude. So if we all looked at the stock market and see what crude prices were today, then we would have some idea of what the price is going to be on the street. What always gets me is if you've got 100 ships out there with 100 loads of fuel, and the price of oil goes up, how is it that if that oil was from the lower price batch of fuel, can they charge more for that batch of, you see what I'm saying? So that's a very interesting point, and I know for a fact that happens. I want to reach out to Las Vegas, to Captain Jim in Las Vegas, a dear friend of mine who, as I've mentioned on this program many times, among other things that he did was he was John Wayne's captain for many years. And also he invited me again this year to join him and become a judge for the International Chili Cook-Off. And what a pleasure it is, what excitement it is for me. I will not be able to make that schedule, but every year I get an invitation. And I told Captain Jim one time, I said, I've never judged chili. He said, that's okay. We have chili judging classes before you have to judge. So, you know, I think he just has an answer for everything. Every objection, there's an answer, right? Okay, so you can call 888-227-2546. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Improving ethanol production efficiencies in concert with new farming technologies means the energy benefits of ethanol continue to grow. In recent research, the U.S. Department of Agriculture determined ethanol's energy balance to be 1.7 to 2.3. That's to say today's ethanol production yields nearly twice as much energy as it took to create the gallon. Also, ethanol's chemical composition means a more complete, cleaner burn of fuel in vehicle engines. Increasing ethanol use in gasoline is directly leading to cleaner air and fewer toxic tailpipe emissions. In 2011, ethanol use reduced tailpipe CO2 equivalent emissions by 25.3 metric tons, equivalent to the emissions of 4 million vehicles. I'm Bobby Likis with 20 facts about ethanol, brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'll get it out. If you have a question, you can dial in. Now's a good time to get in. Miss Jan will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546, and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. I was reading this week about the air fuel ratios, and we had a class we actually hosted in our automotive repair facility, a class with the Snap-on Tool Company, and a gentleman came in from South Florida, who owns a shop in South Florida, but is a trainer for Snap-on, and gave us a class on GDI and the gasoline direct injection. And it was very interesting at how cars are controlled and engines are controlled. So much so that, and I mentioned at the top of the show that I learned that I don't know as much as I thought I knew, but the bottom line is that the industry, the cars, and the technology continues to change. So when you control a mechanical item, like an ICE, internal combustion engine, with a computer, you've got a I started saying inanimate object that's controlling, like I think cars are real, but engines are real. But engines have moving parts, and so you have a computer that controls the moving parts. But in order to do that, you have to have sensors that feed back to the computer, to the program of the computer, so the computer understands what's going on, so the computer can make adjustments on the fly. And to understand all that takes an act of Congress. It really does. And to really get into what's involved in a car or truck or any vehicle in the repair process, by the time that vehicle, let's say a check engine light comes on, and the first thing you think about is a gas cap, and so sure, you put a gas cap on it. I don't know how quickly that got out, that rumor got out, but it did. And these days, that's really far from what it takes to put the check engine light out. And also, I would remind you that if you do have a check engine light and you go to a service shop and they perform some diagnostics, there are steps that must be taken, because that check engine light will come on for one reason or multiple reasons. So you won't throw the baby out we can't in the service industry possibly throw the baby out with the bathwater, which means that if you have 5 trouble codes, and I can assure you the car that I'm driving this morning has stored the check engine light's not on, and it's never come on. Well, it has come on one time when I was servicing the injector system, and I caused that because I was cleaning out the black lung disease, and that was at 35,000 miles. All of those engines, all engines have this oil slick that becomes a problem later on in life, and you have to address that. And GDI engines actually have this problem much earlier on in life, and according to the industry and the aftermarket service and the school that we attended, and get this, folks, let's say you've got a new car and you have 12,000 miles, you've driven it 1 year, and it's just running and purring, and you love it, and it's working real fine. Your system needs to be cleaned. At 12,000 miles? That's right, at 12,000 miles. And it should be cleaned, if it's a GDI, it should be cleaned every 12 to 15,000 miles. Now, the cost to clean that system every 12 to 15,000 miles is going to be about the same as the cost at 75 to 100,000 miles of dismantling the engine to take a wire brush and a very strong commercial grade solvent and clean its teeth and clean its valves and intake system. And so here you've got a car that now has 100,000 miles on it, and it has the check engine light on, and it has a lot of codes in it, but it mainly has this black lung disease because it's built up over time. The layer of oil from the PCV system, and combined with the layers and layers of exhaust gas particulate from the exhaust that go back into the mouth of the engine. That's what an EGR valve does. All harden and build a coating on the walls of the lungs of the engine. And then they build, and this happens again and again and again, and finally it restricts the airways, and the engine cannot breathe. Now, you don't know this because unless you were on a test track, you wouldn't know. It may stumble a little bit, but you make excuses for, well, I got a bad tank of gas, or you don't really want it to be bad, so you try to will it away, which doesn't work, by the way. So ultimately, at 100,000 miles, we in the industry are forced then, and then here comes another scenario. We're forced to dismantle the engine and clean these layers of carbon off one layer at a time, and then put the engine back together. Now, what are you going to say? You're going to say, well, what does that cost? Now you've got this cleaning every 10 to 12,000 miles that is going to be all at one time because you didn't do it every 10 or 12,000 miles. And I don't know what that would cost, but let's just say it's $1,000. And you say, well, gosh, it's one of those pay me now or pay me later. Yes, that's true. However, having said that, the advantage to cleaning it every 10 or 12,000 or 15,000 at the max time is that all along the car runs better and gets better gas mileage and doesn't build up this black lung disease. You see where I'm going here? So it is always better to be proactive than reactive with regard to a mechanical device. And your engine is, of course, a mechanical device. So I would urge you to have a face-to-face conversation with your local service shop and ask them about your GDI engines and ask them, you heard Likis talking about this on the air, and is there something to that or not, and to what extent have they experienced that? Now, I can tell you this, there's no question that Chevy or GM dealers have experienced it, because there's actually technical service bulletins that speak directly to this. And then I could throw in Jag, I could throw in Ford, I could throw in Mercedes. All of the manufacturers that use GDI systems are having the same problem. You say, well, why did they get away from a port injecting and go direct injection? Well, because they get better gas mileage. So what's the solution? Well, the solution is they're going to add back into the mix a port injector. That's what I mentioned earlier. The new Ford V6 EcoBoost has both a port injector and a direct injector into the cylinder. And that port injector, if it does nothing else, it will serve to wash away, using gasoline and ethanol, whatever blend of mix that you buy, whether it's E15, E10, or in a flex fuel, E85, it will wash away the layers of carbon buildup on the back of the intake valve. And make no mistake about it, every internal combustion engine has this problem of some kind. And every GDI engine has a more serious problem because there's no port injector and no way to clean the valve, and that's why cleaning the GDI system every 10 to 15,000 miles is important. So, in fact, I see we have a gentleman on the phone, Tom, from Missouri, with regard to the intake system. So, Tom, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. You drive an 08 Chevy Colorado. Glad to have you in the house.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
Fine. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm fine. I was just wondering, you used to advertise a product just to clean that black lung disease. I can't remember what it's called, but you did it by yourself, and it loaded through your intake system to clean that off. Would that take care of this problem?
No, because this problem is more serious. A GDI is more serious than the minor problems that we had. That product I used and I recommended because it was a good for a DIYer, and it does hook to the vacuum port. But Tom, here's the problem: they did away with vacuum ports on the gasoline on GDI engines, the direct engines. There is no vacuum port, and you'll notice that, like for instance, my car has a little pump on the front of the engine, and it's a vacuum pump. So rather than so they sealed the intake, and the Ford EcoBoost has a pressure sensor that is mounted in the fuel rail, and we can remove that pressure sensor and attach a special tool to do the fuel rail cleaning, and also to do the gain access to and a turbo to get to the intake manifold. Now the reason that yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if I have a GDI engine or not. I doubt it.
I doubt it. With
I don't.
Yeah, no, you do not have. You do not have a GDI engine.
Oh, okay.
You have a port. Now, yours is easier, and you can use that product because you do have vacuum ports.
Right.
Here's the challenge with and now that's a DIY product, okay?
Yes, sir.
And so when you hook it to a vacuum port, that port is not hooked to the plenum chamber. Well, it is, but it's hooked to one group of intake pipes closer than it is to the other intake pipes. And so therefore you might do a pretty good job with a couple of the cylinders, but you're not doing the whole service.
Okay.
Now it's better than not doing anything at all, and again it's made for the DIYer, but for professionally speaking, here's what we do. We will peel back, and I did this to my own car. We'll peel back the rubber bellows where the air cleaner air mass sensor is, and we have a little 1/8 inch hollow tube that is flexible. Looks like a little snake with a delivery orifice on the end of it, and we'll apply that to the intake mouth, and then that not only cleans the throttle body, because it has to go through the throttle body, which is electronic operated, but it also gathers into the intake plenum and fogs the intake plenum like a heavy fog. Just think of a London fog, in our minds, and that fog then not only cleans the bottom of the plenum, it cleans the top of the plenum as well. And then we let it idle for some 30 minutes, and it cleans it. Now, having said that, it still, at some engines, takes two procedures to... Here's the bottom line. You cannot undo in one simple procedure, and I've been in the business for 45 years, so here's a revelation for you. You cannot possibly clean out in 30 minutes what it took 50,000 miles to deposit or build up. Because if you did and you had something that strong, you would destroy some rubber parts or some metal parts or other pieces of the internal engine, because anything that would be that cleaning, just like putting acid on if you really want to etch and paint a concrete, you can use an acid wash. Right. But as you use acid wash, you know what happens? You wash away the top layer and you expose some of the little pebbles of stones.
Right.
So you can't, go ahead.
Could I take a piece of vinyl hose like you're talking about and run it up through there?
Well,
same way you're doing, and
no,
get a
because
job,
we're using
that went back behind the mass air intake.
Yes, you could. I'm trying to think of what you could use.
I was just thinking of a small vinyl hose.
How small?
Well, probably, like you said, about I'd get an 1/8 inch piece of vinyl hose and run it down there. And
yes, what you don't want to do, you don't want the hose to be close enough that it would touch the throttle plate when the plate opens up. You want to be about 3 inches away from the throttle plate. But you know what?
I could never tell that, could I?
Well, yeah, because the throttle body. I mean, just imagine the throttle body. If you got a plate that swivels, the plate can't. If let's say you got a 3-inch plate, well, the most you could have is 1.5 inches of throttle plate. If you turned it 100, if you turned it 90 degrees, it's only going to come out 2.5 inches. So you can look at it, and even though you can't look inside, but you can judge. So yeah, you could do that. I mean, it would be better than doing nothing at all.
Right. Okay.
So
thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for your call. It's very interesting. Take care. And I see that we have Dave from New York. Dave, we're not going to have time to get you in, so I'll ask you to hold over. And Miss Jan, you put him back on hold, and you can either call back in for the next hour coming up, or you can wait till next week. But I prefer that you call back for the second hour. I'll invite you all, folks, to stick with me. I know there's a lot of football going on today, and your favorite team might be playing, but that's going to be a little bit later on this afternoon. So you stick around, and if for some reason that the station doesn't air the second hour of our program, you can go to watchbobbylive.com and on your iPhones or your iPads or your computer and catch us in that format. Again, watchbobbylive.com or your favorite FM, AM stations. More coming up for the next hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. What a great information and what a great idea to have a program where you can get advice and I don't have my hand in your pocket. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated. and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology, is what differentiates Berryman products from other additives, providing a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. But don't take our word for it. Here's a testimonial from Olivia. Her 99 Infiniti Q45 at 170,000 miles was starting to hesitate and lag. Olivia decided on Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. According to her, the product works great and is less expensive. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com. When it comes to your car battery, you expect it to work. Turn the key and go. Thanks to PowerFrame Grid technology, you can count on your battery to be there start after start. Batteries with PowerFrame Grid technology provide superior cranking power with up to 70% better electrical flow than other grid designs. Look for the PowerFrame logo on the outside of your next battery. It means true strength on the inside. Visit PowerFrame.com to find a retailer near you. That's PowerFrame.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Folks, welcome to this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join me this morning. Every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you at your favorite local AM and or FM radio station. Also, we come to you online live at watchbobbylive.com. That's watchbobbylive.com. You can go directly there, or you can go to Car Clinic Network and watch live from there. But Watch Bobby Live will get you to where you need to be. We'll open the phones. Miss Jan will take your call at 888-CAR-CLINIC, 888-227-2546, and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. This segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you by General Tire and its innovative replacement tire monitor technology, which provides you, the user, with a warning when the tire is worn to the point that it needs to be replaced. You can drive to generaltire.com for more information. It's literally etched into the center tread of the tire, replacement tire monitor, and it's really way cool the way these engineers did this. It wears, this replacement tire monitor wears, and some of the letters wear away, leaving replaced tire. It is an absolute ingenious method to let you know when your car needs new tires. Again, GeneralTire.com for more information. I'll be back to take your calls coming up. This Tire Maintenance Minute is brought to you by General Tire. Now through October 15th, purchase 4 new qualifying General Tire passenger or light truck tires and receive up to a $70 Visa gift card. It's General Tire's Making Trails promotion. The first step to choosing the right tire is knowing the factory recommended tire size, which can be found on a label on the driver's doorpost. Then consider the elements of load and speed rating to match your driving style. But don't stop there. Think of smart new technology like General Tire's innovative replacement tire monitor. No guesswork determining when your tires need to be replaced. When tires wear to 2/32 inch of tread depth, General Tire's replacement tire monitor reads replace tire on the tire itself. Imagine the peace of mind when the tire itself lets you know it's time for a change. Get a jump on the cooler autumn air with General Tire's Making Trails promotion now through October 15th. Purchase 4 new qualifying General Tire passenger or light truck tires and receive up to a $70 Visa gift card. Learn more at GeneralTire.com. From the Car Clinic inbox, Jason in Dallas writes, Bobby, the battery in my 2012 Honda just died. I hear you talking about Power Frame. Is this a battery you recommend, and where can I get it? Jason, Power Frame isn't actually a battery brand. Power Frame is the type of grid technology inside select automotive batteries. Why are grids so important? The positive grid provides the energy necessary to start your car, and corrosion of this grid is the #1 cause of battery failure. Power Frame grids are different because the patented grid pattern is optimized for consistent and superior starting power. The manufacturing method and material composition used to produce Power Frame grids result in increased durability and corrosion resistance. In fact, they're 66% more durable than other grid designs like book mold or expanded metal. You can find Power Frame grid technology inside Autocraft Gold and Platinum AGM and CarQuest Silver, Gold, and AGM batteries at your local Advanced Auto Parts and CarQuest stores. For more about Power Frame grid technology, drive to powerframe.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Hospice isn't a place, it's a face. And Regency Hospice delivers more faces to you and your loved one when life matters most. Faces of nurses, nursing assistants, social workers, and chaplains. Regency's skilled, compassionate professionals deliver comfort and individualized care. When that time of life comes to you, Regency Hospice will be there for you. Go to RegencyHospice.com for more, including Hospice for Heroes Veterans Recognition Program.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Okay, let's get started. 888 Car Clinic is the number for you to call. Miss Jan will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will take your call on the air. 888-227-2546. We go to New York. Dave, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you so much for holding.
Morning. Thank you for taking the call.
You're welcome, sir.
Quick question in regard to my pesky code. P2096, it's a post-cat fuel trim system tooling.
Right.
And it's been on since the springtime. I drive 160 miles a day to work, 85 miles each way. But when it was on, I was about 60,000 miles at that point, and the no rough idle, no possibly slightly lower mileage than I should be getting, but it was on. So I had the O2 sensor replaced behind the cat.
Right.
And,
post cat. Right.
Yeah, and it came back on. So for months I'm like, well, there's no serious issues with the vehicle. So I was driving around again. I finally was like, well, let me see if I can get it fixed, because again, once I get my inspection done, I will need it fixed. So I was like, let me get it fixed. So they did the test again. It was still 2096. And so they replaced it again. 2 days later, the light was back on again. So any other ideas on if it's the cat itself, if there's any other issues that I should be looking at?
Well, if that sensor, well, first let's talk. There are two sensors on the cat. There's a pre-cat and post-cat. The pre-cat is it has nothing to do with the catalytic converter. It measures the amount of air that the engine is escaping the engine. Conversely, it measures if there's not enough air there, it measures the fuel. And of course, when you have more than half a volt, it's a volt generator. And there are many kinds of several different kinds of O2 sensors, but for the sake of this conversation, to make it simple, anything over half volt, 500 millivolts, is too rich. Anything less than 500 millivolts is too lean. So the engine, because of throttle on and throttle off, always goes too rich. And then the computer sees that because the O2 sensor tells it and reports, and it leans out and it shortens the pulse width on the injector, which is about 3 milliseconds, and it'll shut that down to maybe 1.5 milliseconds. But when it does, then it leans out the engine, and then the voltage goes from like 0.7, where it was too rich, to 0.2, which is too lean. And then that tells the PCM, the computer, that it's too lean. So it goes back and forth. This is called Monica. And so years ago, in fact, the Volvo was the first car that came out with O2 sensors, and it was Bosch who invented the automotive O2 sensor, although they did not invent the technology. But having said that, it was all based on lambda 1, which is 14.7 parts of air to 1 part of fuel. This lambda 1 is what it's called. And lambda 1 is stoichiometric, which is a perfect air-fuel ratio, and it has to do with emissions. Having said that, as you can see, it's always hunting. It's always lean, too lean. No, you're too lean. No, you're too rich. Too lean, too lean, too rich. And so, as a result, the catalytic converter's job is to cook what's left over to make sure that whatever comes out of its post-cat is flatline. So the voltage for the post-cat should be flatline. And that voltage could be, let's say that you're having a 0.2 to 0.7 on the pre-cat, the voltage coming out of the post-cat O2 sensor should, in theory, should be a perfect 0.5, because that's zero. That's the right amount of air and fuel, which is none. So it's all used up.
Right.
But stratified charge combustion chambers are not that efficient, and that's always been a challenge. So you're never going to have a perfect stratified charge where you start a fire and the flame propagates across the chamber, because the flame is hotter near the spark than it is in the far regions of the combustion chamber. So I said all that, which is a little technical, but you can absorb. And it's important to understand the process, because if I were checking your automobile for your code, I would want to see and use a scope to determine if that pulse from and the voltage from the post-cat was flatline. If it was, then I would say that it's doing the catalytic converter is doing its job. But if it's not, then it will set the code. So replacing the sensor is not what's wrong. It could be the converter that's causing the sensor to have the wrong reading, and so it is that sensor. Now, having said that, it is believed by many in the automotive service industry, many technicians, that, and I got to say that I even believed this early on, that the post-cat really didn't have anything. The O2 sensor just measured a flat line, and that's all it had to do, because it didn't have any effect on the engine upstream, because it was not a tuner. It was just a traffic cop. It was checking what's coming out of the tailpipe, more or less.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Well, that's not true at all. You can actually have a bad O2 sensor, and it will cause a misfire, and it will cause other problems upstream, even though its primary job, as we have all been told, and still are to this day are told by the OEMs its primary job is to check on the catalytic converter to make sure it's doing its job, which means cleaning up after a messy engine or too lean, too rich engine. So what I would urge that you do is to ask the same shop that has already checked these codes to run a scope pattern. And now you're getting into using lab scopes. You're getting into a little deeper technology, and that's where you separate the ASE master technicians from those who are wrench turners. And I don't say that in a derogatory way. I'm just saying that it's a really a technical world we live in now, Dave. And you drive a car that has all these sensors on it, and the PCM can only do its job if it gets reports from the sensor. So I'm going to say to you, ask your shop to check the scope, use the scope and check the graphs to make sure the cat's doing its job, because if the cat is not doing its job, or if you have an injector upstream that is too rich continuously, then you could damage the cat. And one more point, you did say that you drove quite a while with the light on. Is that correct?
Yeah, because it was on. I had it replaced. It came back on for the same code. It was like,
right,
okay, yeah,
right.
But about 20,000 miles.
Yeah. Well, see, and I had a Ford truck in here, the earlier model. I think it was an 07, 5.4, that had bad spark plugs, which is typical, and I won't go into that animal because there's a way. We've actually created our own procedure how to get those plugs out without them breaking off, or at least significantly reducing the broken plugs. And that's not a do-it-yourselfer. For all of you who own that era of Ford 5.4, do not try to replace your own spark plug. So anyway,
and I believe this happened. Speaking of the spark plugs, this happened soon after. And I called before in regard to the coil pack replacement. So I replaced the coil pack, replaced the spark plugs at that time, and then it happened soon after that.
Okay, now that makes sense, because that's the same story that I was going to share with this Ford. The Ford had a spark plug issue and a coil pack issue, which is typical, and we fixed that. But a week later, the customer, who's a longtime friend of mine, called and said, "Hey, Bobby, we got this truck that you just worked on. The lights come back on again." And so he came in, and we had to put both cats on this car, because both catalytic converters were damaged because the engine was still feeding fuel that was not being burned. And so you've got a cooker and an afterburner, and you overstoke it, and it burns the catalytic converter. To that end, the later model automobiles will shut down the injector for a misfire so that doesn't happen. I mean, and so you literally can have a misfire, and because of a flooding condition, or because you're servicing and cleaning out the injectors, the black lung disease I was talking about earlier in another hour, and then the engine's misfiring, and it'll stay misfiring because the computer says, "Oh, this cylinder is not firing," and so I'm going to turn that injector off. And then what you have to do is you shut the engine down, you crank it back up, and it runs fine, but it will go back to its old erratic operation. So that just proves you have more to do. So I would say to you that the possibility exists that you have a bad cat. And having said all that, but I wanted you to be aware of the complexity of the project, so that when you go back to your shop, you can have a similar conversation and hear what they have to say and see what they know. You got it?
I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Dave. And folks, now's a great time for you to get in at 888-227-2546. I'll be back. Folks, we're testing an Intune i2 performance programmer from Diablo Sport, and we'll share feedback and results over the next few months. First is ease of installation. Directions were clear and the setup was easy. The Intune i2 is preloaded with dyno and street-tested performance programs developed specifically for your car or truck, ensuring optimal power and drivability gains. From there, you can then customize a tune tailored to your own performance needs. What a great way to boost power without even popping the hood. Diablo Sport Intune i2 has a fantastic look and now features the latest generation ARM processor for a higher resolution screen and an exceptionally responsive touchpad. You can update your i2 software on virtually any computer. Windows, Mac, Linux, and update times are fast. Even the large updates take no more than 5 minutes. I'll report more to you about the Intune i2 in the coming weeks. In the meantime, check out the i2 for yourself at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. We Americans are outspoken when it comes to choice, whether it's menu selections or political elections. So why not at the pump? E15 and E85 provide an American-sourced alternative for vehicle model years 2001 and later and flex fuel vehicles, respectively. Opponents claim that drivers will be confused at the pump. This objection is confusing, as drivers have historically chosen among at least 3 different octanes and diesel. In fact, studies show that Americans do want a choice at the pump by a 3-to-1 margin. In the future, choices will be technology-enabled by innovative blender pumps, which will energize retailers and empower consumers to tailor their fueling options to include the ethanol level best suited to their need. I'm Bobby Likis, calling all technicians with 20 facts about ethanol. Brought to you by the Renewable Fuels Association. Drive to ethanolrfa.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Miss Jan will take your call at 888 Car Clinic and put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. That's 888-227-2546, 227-2546. Let's go to South Dakota and talk to Earl. Earl, I'll welcome you to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Likis. I got a 2014 Dodge Grand Caravan, and it's got 33,000 miles on it. And I noticed every once in a while some erratic shifting patterns in it, driving. And I'm wondering if I should get rid of it before the warranty expires or what.
Oh. Well, you know, it being a 2014 with 33,000 miles, you're sort of in the sweet spot right now because, number one, if you did sell it, it would bring more, let's see, 14, 15, it would bring more with 34,000 miles than it would if you hit that magic or not so magic number of 50,000 miles. So there are different plateaus, and so 30,000 miles is sort of, it's still a new vehicle. So I'll answer your first question, which I don't really believe that's what you want to do, but you're just saying that. But if you do think that you want another car, it does make sense at this time for you to think about that, because your 33,000, 34,000 mile 14 is worth more than it'll ever be worth going forward. Now, having said that, there's no reason for you to be concerned over a transmission erratic shift, because there are reprogram modules, and the dealer can not only check the module itself or check the program in the existing automobile. There may be a TSB, or there may be not a recall, but a soft recall, which means that if a complaint comes in, if Earl complains about the shift pattern to the dealer, then the dealer will investigate, and sure enough, a technician could reprogram your transmission module and or the PCM both. So I wouldn't be concerned at the what does it do exactly?
I don't know. Driving it sometimes clunks into gear and kind of back and forth. And I noticed when I punched it up on the computer, there's been several complaints about that shifting part of it.
Right, which leads me to believe even more so that if enough people complain about it, that now the factory will come out with a patch, a new patch. Now, having said that, that reminds me of the start-stop. BMW had so many complaints on their start-stop issue that they, and of course you can defeat that, and my car has a defeat button as well. The problem is every time I turn my car off, it defaults back to on. So every time I get in the car, I have to reach over and hit the start-stop defeat, and defeat that function. BMW had so many complaints that they changed the software, which was just the tick of a 1 or O in the software, so that wherever the driver left it last time, if the driver defeated that function, it would stay defeated. Now, that's not true for traction control or safety related, but it is accurate and correct for a start-stop. I said all that to say that that same methodology holds true for your transmission. If enough people complained about it, and you're not the only one, you've already found online there are plenty more. Of course, you have to be careful there, because what you feel and don't like and what somebody else feels and don't like, you may all think this is a transmission issue, but it may not be. It may be other. And because the transmission shifts according to the computer, but that computer has sensor inputs that share with the, like, temperature and speed of engine, load of engine, all that is shared with the PCM. So it's kind of like a hand in glove. In fact, there's an average, Earl, of 50 boxes, black boxes, on a car. There's 2.5 miles of wiring on a car today, and there's $8,000 worth of electronics on today's automobile. So, and yours is included in that arena. So I would say that if you want another vehicle, now's a good time to get one, and more power to you. And if you want to stick with this one and have a conversation with your dealer, now's the time to do that. Any questions?
Yeah, one quick one. On that shifting deal, it's got a plus and a minus that you can kind of flip right or left. Should a person be using that on a regular basis? I use mine all the time, but that's a fun item. That paddle. It's like a paddle shift, and of course I do have paddle shifts on mine, so it's easier. And another one of our cars is a smart car, which has a terrible transmission, which is a standard transmission, electronically controlled. It doesn't even have a clutch for the driver, but there's a real clutch in the car. So every time I get in that car, because it dumps first gear so quickly, unless you nail the throttle, and you can't nail the throttle because you run up behind somebody. So I will cock the shift lever over to the left, which puts it into that manual mode, and I'll shift it when I want it to shift. So make no mistake about it, you can play with that to your heart's content, and it will not hurt anything. It's there for your pleasure, and it's there as an added feature, and certainly you may enjoy doing that. But isn't your gear shift up on the dash? Yeah. And that's what I was wondering, if you're going down a steep incline, are you supposed to put it in the minus? Absolutely.
I do that. I do that every time I get in my car, and I'll tell you why I do that. It's a way for me to cheat the gas guzzler, because anytime you're over driving the car, like say you're going 50 miles an hour and you're going to an off ramp, so you downshift it. Anytime the engine, and now let off the throttle, so now you're coasting, rather than to use the brakes to slow the car down on the off ramp, I will use my paddle shift to downshift the automatic transmission to do two things. One, to slow the car. Two, it's a free ride, because anytime the engine, and get this, your car, all cars, and folks, your car is the same way. All of today's cars have the fuel cut. And what that means is, if your gas pedal is at rest, which means your foot is off the pedal, or at least not depressing the pedal, and the engine is turning more than 1,500 RPM, that fuel is cut off going to the engine. And if you have that instant readout, and Earl, you have, I think, an instant readout on yours for MPG, that instantaneous read, try it one day. Just put it on instantaneous and watch it, and you can play with your foot pedal and see. You can make it get 6 miles per gallon or 18 miles per gallon just by playing with that pedal. And furthermore, you can let it go all the way up to 99 miles per gallon, because it's only a 2-digit gauge, so it doesn't go to 100, but it does go past 100 in theory. So you can downshift it using the transmission to slow the car like we used to do on standard transmission cars, and that will shut the fuel off, and the engine and the car will travel ever how far you go, 1 block, 2 blocks, or half a mile on the down low, coasting, with no use of any gas whatsoever, and that makes that MPG go out through the roof. It's fun to do. Try it.
Okay, and well, what's the Econo Boost used for then, that button?
Well, the economy use makes the transmission shift into a taller gear earlier under light throttle, and so it's a dull. It's kind of a dull thing to do. I'm a car guy, so the econo-based shift deal means that the transmission goes and it shifts into high gear. It's like riding a bike, and you go to first gear, second gear, sixth gear, eighth gear. Your legs say, "Hey, what are you doing to me? You've upshifted too quickly." But make no mistake about it, a car going 40 miles an hour in sixth gear, although the engine is loading and lugging, will get better gas mileage than that same car going 30 or 40 miles per hour in second gear, because the engine's turning fewer RPM. And there's a correlation between engine load and all those things. But so anyway, that gives you the 3 different functions that cars have today. You got it?
I got it. Hey, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. Nice talking with you, Earl. Have a great day. Now let's go to Kansas from South Dakota and talk with Kyle. And folks, you can get in at 888-227-2546. Kyle, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure.
Got a 2006 F-150 with 162,000 miles, and I will have the battery gauge kind of go from, right there in the middle where I want it to be, all the way down to low, and then, radio will shut off, all my electronics, my gauges, headlights will get dim, things of that nature, and then just intermittently it'll pop back up and then come down. I'm assuming it might be something with my alternator, but I can bring it into the shop and let the motor run for, 20 minutes, half an hour, and, it'll still be charging that battery. So don't know if I need to replace the alternator, and kind of has me getting confused.
You're on the right track. What I would do first is I would remove the battery cables from the battery and clean them.
Okay.
And you must start with the negative, and you must end up with the negative. So you disconnect the negative, and then you take the positive off, because there's no chance of shorting anything out. And then you put the positive back on after you've cleaned it, and then you put the negative back on. You also should clean the engine block where that negative cable goes to the engine block, because bad grounds will cause this very same thing. And in addition to that, you have to be careful, because you may have, I say be careful, you also want to inspect, and this will be above your pay grade here, Kyle, but there could be a board circuit or a main circuit in the main fuse box that's causing this problem as well, but you would need a wiring diagram for that. But that's where you should start, but you're on the right track. Just stay with it. Hey, thanks for your call, man. Good luck. I see that we have Jim again. Jim, if you would hold, and Jim, folks, is from PowerTech, and the actually the parent company of Diablo Sport. He's on the phone. I see Larry from Florida with a 62 Corvette. So Larry, you're going to follow Jim. And now we have another call coming in. So folks, now is a great time to get in. We got a hard break coming up, and I'm going to hold you over, Larry, until the hard break. And Jim, if you don't mind, you stay there, and I'll hold you over. We come back, and in order, I'll take Jim, and then I'll take Larry, and then I'll see that another call is coming in to Miss Jan. We'll take that caller in a row. So the last segment coming up is going to be an action-packed, and we're going to hear a little bit about the Diablo Sport from Jim. And also I have some information about how that correlates to the very car that you're driving. So it's a great show. Don't touch that dial. I'm Bobby Likis. I'll be back. Here's an email from a Car Clinic listener. David writes, "What's the amber light on my dash? It looks like a cork pointing at an angle to a picture on the side of the car. This light has been on and off for about a year now, and I think it's time I check it out." Well, David, no time like the present. The light indicates a detected failure that could allow gasoline fumes to evaporate into the air, costing you money in lost fuel and polluting the air. Most common failure that trips the light? A small evap leak, or in other words, loose fuel cap. Besides being tight, the cap must also be in good condition. Fuel caps don't last forever, and poor quality caps don't work well from the beginning. Stant makes a large line of fuel caps that will last a very long time and ensure proper sealing of the system. Stant fuel caps are the only aftermarket caps to include all the safety features of the original equipment cap. Visit Stant.com or ask your local parts store for a Stant gas cap by name.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Great program today. On the hotline with us now is Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. You've heard me talk about Diablo Sport. Well, Diablo Sport is one of PowerTech's brands. And as Car Clinic listeners and viewers, you know we've installed a Diablo Sport Intune i2 performance programmer in our test vehicle, a 2015 EcoBoost Turbo V6 F-150 Ford. And I can personally attest to the installation ease and the performance enhancement of the Diablo Sport Intune i2. So I invited Jim to join us today on Car Clinic to give us a little more information about performance programmers in general, and of course specifically the Diablo Sport Intune i2. Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
How have performance programmers evolved through the years? We heard about chips years ago, and today it's a whole new ball game.
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, I think it kind of coincides with the technology you've seen in vehicles. We like to call our technology white glove technology. So, as you referenced previously, they actually used to have, physical chips, EPROMs, that you would, open the hood, pop it on, and that's where you were going into to dial up performance. Whereas now it's simply what we call plug and play. With the OBD2 in the vehicle, that's where we communicate. That's where we plug in, and from there it's like operating an app on your phone. And in fact, the i2 looks somewhat similar to today's smartphones. And so I think you've seen, the hood stays closed. Like a lot of technology, things are getting smaller, so the form factor itself has shrunk, and just the speed and ease of use overall, as far as going from start to finish and adding performance to your vehicle, has it's light years ahead of where it was even 5-6 years ago.
Well, and to that end, being in the automotive service and repair business for some 45 years, and of hosting Car Clinic broadcast for 25 years, it's not always easy for us to reprogram a vehicle with regard to service or upgrade from the OEM. And that's why I was so actually surprised, Jim, to say the least, about how easy it was to reprogram the F-150 that we actually tuned a short while back. Let's shift gears and go a little deeper into CMR, because I've talked about CMR to our Car Clinic listeners and viewers, or Chip Master Resolution Custom Tuning. What does CMR mean in lay terms?
Sure. So, when you have an i2, it comes out of the box equipped with some what we call preloaded tunes, which technically are custom tunes that we've built, designed for, in your case, the Ford F-150. What we've also, come to see in the marketplace is that, car guys and car gals, there's obviously a lot of things that people can do on top of wheels and tires when it comes to timing for cams or headers, or things that we would consider more along the lines of a stage 2 or 3 bolt-on or add-on. And so what we've done is we've created software that allows you to really unlock that vehicle's true potential. So tunable parameters, spark timing tables, fuel tables, things that will allow you to actually go in and customize the tuning specifically for the aftermarket modifications that you've made. So, that's been a big progression of tuning for us. We have something that we feel out of the box can work for anyone, and then we have this software that's now available through a host of dealers across the country that can write you a tune specifically for some of these bolt-on modifications that you've made.
We're talking with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Power Tech, about the Diablo Sport Intune i2 Performance Programmer. Jim, let's shift gears again. SEMA is coming up, and for folks out there who are not familiar, SEMA is an acronym for the Specialty Equipment Market Association, which is all things OEM and actually all things that are inventive and innovative about the aftermarket and about new cars, as well as the cars on the street, to include classic automobiles. I imagine Diablo Sport will be at this year's SEMA. What are your plans for this show this year?
Yes, we'll most certainly be there. It's, as you just explained, it's all things automotive and aftermarket that'll be there. And so we will be at the show this year. We're actually going to be across from our colleagues and group that we're part of, Holley MSD. And so Diablo, being a Power Tech brand, we'll have our own booth right across from Holley this year. We're actually going to be very close to the Ford booth, which we're excited about. And we'll be on site with our sister brands, Edge Products and Super Chips. And so really it's an opportunity to showcase everything that's new and great about your brand. Obviously, the i2 will be on display, as that's become kind of a flagship product for Diablo Sport. But we've got some new things in the works as well that we plan to unveil in the form of some new form factors, and also some 50-state legal products that we've been testing with the state of California that we're really excited about, because it expands our reach and also follows the emission standards that are now required.
Well, I'll just briefly touch on California. If the company is actually creating programs that are legal and acceptable for California, then that means that they're good for all the states, because of California's CARB and their strict rules with regard to emissions. So that means that it's legal. It will be legal in California, and therefore you want to affect the emissions of an automobile. You can tell if that's correct or not. I want to make sure that I'm sending the right program to all of our listeners. And also, I have a question. You mentioned Holley Performance Group. Is your corporation or tied in with Holley?
We are. So that just about a year ago, we were purchased by the Holley Performance Group, ourselves in addition to MSD. So it was a large undertaking. There's quite a few brands now, iconic automotive brands that are now all under one heading. So we've been able to, pool resources on the engineering side, the marketing side. We've got a vast network of dealers, and so it's really been a good fit for us, and we're excited to be partnered with them. And then there's also some tie-in with some of the Holley brands and products that they sell. There's Blackheart exhaust, there's Flowtech headers, there's things that a lot of our Diablo customers find to work in conjunction with our tuning, and so that there's a natural fit there for us. And then to touch on the 50-state legal portion, you are right. So typically the executive orders, which is it's essentially a legal document that you're given once you test and are approved with the state of California, have typically been kind of the gold standard as far as 50 states. So PowerTech has invested in our own emissions equipment. We've also tested and tuned with the SEMA Garage, which is a great tool that SEMA offers member companies. And so we've actually passed the testing. We're in the process now, unfortunately, where it's come down to paperwork, where you're processing documents and you're waiting on the official approval from CARB. So we're excited about that. For the long-term interest of all of our brands and our companies, it's something that's going to be at the forefront. And the good news for us is that the tuning that we have currently was not manipulated to pass those standards. It was really just something that we went through the process to make sure we're doing it by the book.
Great. Yeah, by the book. Jim, one last question, or at least a couple of questions. One, the 2017, and I've spoken about this recently on Car Clinic here, the 2017 Raptor Ford F-150, the same 3.5 V6 engine now boasts 450 horsepower and 505 pound-feet of torque. So, folks, what that means is the OEMs leave a lot of power and a lot within the engine because they want to err to the safety. And quite candidly, Jim, it is my belief that they always save a few horsepower so they can come out the following year with an upgrade of the same vehicle with an extra 5 or 10 horsepower. I said all that to ask this question. For the average F-150 owner out there that drives the EcoBoost Ford or otherwise, but specifically the EcoBoost that is in the 340, 345 horsepower range, what does the Diablo Sport Intune i2 Performance Programmer provide in the way of performance?
Sure. Well, ironically, I drive the exact same truck that you're talking about, believe it or not. So I've run the tuning on my truck. We make 54 horse at max performance. Now that's running a 93 octane tune. And to touch on briefly what you mentioned with the 17 and the horsepower that's going to be on that new Raptor, typically what we try to do is, and what we hear quite frequently is that my vehicle doesn't need any more power. And more often than not, that may be the case. We all know we're always hungry for more. But what we really try to do is provide some specific calibrations in the form of these preloaded tunes that are designed for someone that may tow a boat or may have a daily drive where all they're doing is highway driving and they want better fuel economy. And so in addition to providing that power, what we really try to do is eliminate things like downshifting, optimize power throughout the RPM band, eliminate lag. And so it really creates what we like to say here is an extraordinary driving experience. That's one of our value statements in our vision statement for the brand, is to make sure that while you can deliver all the power in the world, and we could certainly deliver more and above and beyond what we do, it's really about making sure it hits the mark for the customer and that they feel a difference for whatever functional use they may have for the vehicle.
And it's always great for someone to be able to purchase a product, a known quality product like yours, and then Diablo Sport, and then install that on their automobile, which is a simple touch screen. And folks, I've done it. It is very simple. And to receive a benefit every day, day in and day out. So hats off to all of your programmers, the guys behind the doors that do all the ones and O's and the programs, and hats off to PowerTech for the leadership, including yourself. So I appreciate your time. One final question. Where can our Car Clinic listeners and viewers go for more information?
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you having us. And the best place to come find more information on the i2 or any of the Diablo products would be diablosport.com.
Great. Jim again, Vice President of PowerTech, the Diablo Sport parent company. Jim, it was great to have you on Car Clinic today. Have a great day and appreciate all the great information on the Diablo Sport Intune i2 programmer.
Thank you very much.
And I want to thank you all for staying with us because I had a lot of questions for Jim there. But the main thing is that if you drive a Ford or a GM product or a Chrysler or a Jeep, you have a lot that you're leaving on the table. And so the investment in the Diablo Sport Intune i2 programmer is a no-brainer. Trust me, it is a fabulous piece of equipment. Let's go back to the phones and take another call. Larry, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you so much for holding.
No problem. That band's very interesting there. Yeah,
Very,
we're down
yes.
here in Sebring. NASCAR's taking our racetrack over down here. Wayne Estey's doing a great job, our new SIR president.
That's
true.
terrific
We come
to
on
hear.
the Sports Talk at 12:06 behind your show, so we appreciate your intro.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that update on the station there. So
we're it's all about the NASCAR down here. They bought everything out. Listen, and you nailed me for a 201 Marquis a couple of years ago. Went right to the problem.
Okay.
I have a '62 Corvette with original Rochester FI.
Yes.
And it was sitting for several years. I have had the car cranked, but I cannot seem to keep it primed. In other words, I get fuel up to my injection system and pump and all, but I can't get it to my cylinders.
Well, are the injectors? Well, gosh, see, there's so much to check, Larry. That may be above your pay grade, because that it's an injected automobile.
What's that?
It's a 62
Yeah,
model
it's the
car.
original Rochester fuel injection.
Oh, the original Rochester fuel injection.
Yeah,
well,
it's all original. I did replace the fuel pump. I'm getting fuel up to my injection pump, but I'm not able, unless I reprime it every time, I'm not able to get it out to my it's got individual fuel lines to each cylinder.
Right.
And I'm just not getting it to my individual cylinders.
So once you prime it with fuel, auxiliary fuel, will it stay running, or it does?
Yeah, it pretty much stay running, but I just can't get fuel to my to my cylinders.
Well,
and I ordered and put a new diaphragm in my injection reservoir.
Well,
there.
I was going to ask you about the diaphragm because the pressure. Is there any way? Is there a port? I've never worked on one of those, but is there a port to test pressure on the line, the rail itself?
Not specifically to my knowledge, and I've been told that the fuel pump I replaced it with it's not original. It was it's aftermarket pump,
right.
And some people say that perhaps there's a different fuel pump pressure, but I'm getting a lot of fuel. I mean, it seems like I'm.
Well,
pull that loose, it'll shoot fuel all the way across
Larry,
the motor,
In the interest of time, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask Kevin to put you back on hold, and I'd like for you to give Miss Jan your email address, and then offline I will do research, and I can help you more there because this is its own little dog. This 62.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful injector system, very strange injector system, and so it's something that is not I'm not normally familiar with. Believe it or not, but I will help you with it. So I'll put you back on hold. I thank you so much for the update there on your station, and glad to have NASCAR coming in. So I will connect with you via email over the weeks coming, okay?
That will be very fine. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, and we'll put him back on hold. And I know that Gary is calling in from Texas. And I know that Chris is calling in from Florida. Let's put Chris on the phone. Chris, I'm out of time, but you waited so long. What can I do for you quickly?
I have a PT Cruiser. It's got 162,000 miles. The oil light comes on sporadically when I'm sitting in neutral or when I turn the car off. But it only does it like once every 3 weeks or once every 7 days. And I put high mileage oil in it because it's 162,000 miles, and I don't know why it does that.
Well, the first thing to do is the easiest thing to do is replace the oil cylinder switch on the engine. That's the easiest thing you do. You could spend another half-hour labor to check the actual physical oil pressure, like someone would check your your heart rate and what have you. But for me, initially, I would check and replace the cylinder because that's a no-brainer. It's cheap and inexpensive. If that doesn't fix it, you call me back. Folks, I'll see you same time, same channel next week.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
It's time for another Berryman Hestimonial, where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. Olivia writes in about her 99 Infiniti Q45. The vehicle had 170,000 miles and was starting to hesitate and lag. After doing research online, Olivia decided on Berryman's B12 Chem Tool and could not be happier. The product works great and is less expensive. Great value. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. Be sure the next time your car needs a new battery, you choose one with PowerFrame grid technology inside. It's not only 66% more durable than other grid designs, it's manufactured with the latest and most sustainable processes. Look for PowerFrame on the outside for true strength on the inside. Visit PowerFrame.com to find a retailer near you. That's PowerFrame.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
P. Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here.